Welcome back. And the 10th plague. Death of the firstborn of Egypt. Let's examine that one carefully. First off, we're going to use one thing to show how another thing did occur. During the 14th century, Black Death or bubonic plague killed out quite a bit of Europe. It killed a quarter of the people of Europe. Yet, during that, it only killed Jews half the rate that it was killing everybody else in some cities. Did something protect them? Yeah. Something did protect them. A tradition that is found clear back in biblical days and still, I'm sure, is happening. Even in Egypt, but there was a custom to prevent diseases like no pork, because the pig had a tapeworm that caused disability and death. Also, every spring, and I'm reading from my notes, yes I am, Jews had to clean out their stored grain. Ladies, there's your thanks for your spring cleaning. Anyway, it seems that even back then the Jews knew the connection with grain and the plague was to control the rats, and if you control the rats, you control the fleas. It was the fleas that brought the Black Death. So by cleaning, they kept down the rats and the fleas. But the Egyptians didn't have spring cleaning. But that wasn't why the firstborn died. Or wasn't the plague. Because the plague was specific to the firstborn, not everybody. But it led up to it. What happened was, and it's been discovered, that molds kill humans. So this is what happened. There was a toxic mold from the grain, wet from the hailstones, stored in dark, cool places. But on the desert, that would be warm as well, and during the day. Perfect for mold to set up home. What does mold do to the human body? You can be allergic to mold, and there's some molds that cause internal hemorrhaging, and you would literally bleed to death with inside. And there's no apparent cause, no apparent reason to the eye. And after the locusts and all the other events, of course there wouldn't have been that much for the Egyptians to eat. They would have been basically starving. So of course they would have had to go back to eating this toxic mold infested grain. Death would be sudden and no reason. That's the reason it was the firstborn. Because the Egyptians had a tradition that during times of famine, that the oldest child was given twice the food in order to try to save one child from starvation. But with all the toxic mold in it, it condemned the oldest born of every Egyptian family to death by giving them double portions. That explains it in logical and natural ways. So that alone dispels the book of Revelations. And the Bible really is the only source for the book of Revelations. The Egyptians were well-known documentarians, but there's no mention of these so-called curses. But there was something that did show in the records, that death came from across the sea. Egypt was known to be invaded several times. There is archaeological evidence to support that Egypt was invaded from people from the Mediterranean. The Egyptians called them sea people. Funny that the plagues weren't even mentioned. Yet all this, there's a lot of negative things for the Egyptian people are inscripted. No documentation ever. Several attacks were painted in different pictures. Archaeologists have found to support the attacks, but there's no archaeological evidence whatsoever to support the plagues. There's only a little bit more to cover here to finish expelling and debunking the book of Exodus. Basically, Exodus was a book of the Bible that created the world as it is today. So if Exodus was all myth, so is everything that it's based upon not factual. Next video will finish up this series.